Here's where we left off in our last video. We have our handy dandy Word document with our screenshots open so we can put in a proof of execution in here. We've got our first little program, Hello World. Well, we're going to create a little tutorial. It's not a really tough tutorial, but it's going to go through the process of creating program. So all of my assignments will have something that are called requirements. Requirements means this is the minimum that the program should do. So we're going to create a simple little program called band name generator. So in my case, I right-click New File. You can click up here, and there's a New File button. We want this file to be named, what was it? Oh, band name. Notice I'm putting underscores in here. This is the convention. It's called snake case. This is the convention for naming programs in Python. So conventions are good. Actually, this is an agreed upon convention by the people who wrote Python, meaning that we want, oh, I have to turn off my, I'm not going to worry about that. All right, this is an agreed upon convention that this is how we name our files, so that when I look at this, it's easier for me to recognize because I'm familiar with it. Well, I'm going to take my little guy from here, select it, Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste. Now I just have to change the name of it, which I'm not going to bother doing. I'm just going to go down here. You know how to type in and edit things. All right. So one of the parts of every assignment is going to be the requirements. So in this case, we're going to take two inputs from the user and assemble those inputs into a band name. So that's the requirement, and I should spell band name correctly, shouldn't I? There we go, band name. Whoops. Let's try that again. There, band name. So, algorithm. What's an algorithm? Well, an algorithm is a solution to the problem. An algorithm is the method of solving that problem. Algorithms are king. They run the world. Coding is not just typing things in. It is solving problems with code. So as we're solving our problems, we want to solve the problem first and then code second. One way of planning out your program is in what it says here is simple natural language. Just type it out. So here is an example of pseudocode. I have students that like to do pseudocode ahead of time. Pseudocode is something that you can take and convert into any program. So any programming language, I can create a greeting for my program. I can ask the user for the city. I can ask the user for the name of the pet. I can combine that. I can display it. Does not matter what language it is. I can create a program from this. This is the algorithm. This is how we're going to solve this problem. Now, another way to do this is to do. T-O-D-O means to do, means the things we have to do to create this program. Well, notice this is exactly the same as my pseudocode, isn't it? I've just put it into a different format so that I can insert the code in between as I build it. So we'll do it this way. I kind of like the little to-do list thing. I'm kind of a linear thinker. So I'm going to select, let's see here, select, drag through it, select Control-C. If you don't know Control-C and Control-V, time to start learning it. I do a Control-V. Notice that it's in a different color. All right, so everything after this is a comment. So the tutorial takes you through how to do this. This is an example of a development process. Notice I haven't written a line of code, but I've planned out and thought through each of the pieces that I want the program to do. And then what you would do is, as you're going through the tutorial, let me bring the tutorial up to the front, it'll give you an example of what we're looking for. This is what I'm looking for as a header comment for the program. Something like that. Does it have to be exactly the same as this? No. What I'm looking for is proof of understanding. Proof of understanding. Then you ask the user, well, here's a new one. What is this input business? Well, let's take a look at what input is. So we know how to print something out. No problem there. We just do print. We need parentheses around it, around the command, and then in between the double quotes, we have a string. It'll say band name generator. So this is going to print this string out to our console. That's what print does. How do we ask the user for a city they grew up in? Well, we use another command called input. And this also has double quotes in it. So print just does one thing. It prints the text to the console. Input asks the user a question. What city did you grow up in? And I like to put a colon, it's kind of a way to indicate you're supposed to type something. So the first thing the input command does is it prints out what city did you grow up in. And then it waits for you to type something in. And when you type something in, well, let's see what it looks like. There it is. What city did I grow up in? I grew up in Welcome, Minnesota. But nothing happened. All we did is we got a prompt. Well, we did type something in. When we pressed the enter key, that information didn't go anywhere. So when you press the enter key here with our information, we need to assign that to something called a variable. So I'm going to call that variable city. The equal sign is not an equal sign in programming. It's an assignment statement. In math, we have 1 plus 2. For example, we have 1 plus 2 equals 3, right? So it is an equal sign here. We do the operation over here. The result is there. Reverse that for programming. We do our operation over here. We assign the result of whatever we've done here to this storage area. Python allocates or creates an area in memory where it can store city. So it's saying that, let's see, here is where we're going to store city. And then we're going to create another one where we can store whatever the other part of this program is. Oh, the name of the pet. So we have both of these pieces of information stored in memory. This is the name of the spot in memory where we've stored that information. So when I press the enter key, it goes from here and it gets stored into this little guy. All right. So now city has information stored in it. Well, let's try that. Let's see what happens. We run it. We type in welcome. And it's stored in city. Well, how do you know if it's stored in city? Nothing showed up. Well, we would have to print city. So sometimes when you're working on a program, you want to do something called print debugging. So we're going to print the contents of that variable to the console to make sure that this actually worked. Is this part of the end result of the program? No. We're just testing to see if the darn thing works. So we do this. What did I grow up in? I grew up in welcome. And there it is. That's what's stored in the city variable. We printed it to the console so we could see it. So now we've tested this little part of the program to make sure it works. So print debugging is kind of handy. Debugging means that we're trying to figure out what's wrong with the program. Well, you can guess that if we ask for the name of the pet, it's going to be very similar. We need to get information from the user. So pet equals input. And I'm just going to put in pet name. Oh, we got to type it right. If you don't type things right, computers are not happy. And I'm just going to put pet name. All right, so at this point, whoops, I like a little space there. So now we have pet name. Well, so far so good. We have the city that we've grown up in. We have our name of our pet. Now we're going to combine those two together because they're both in a variable. Well, variable is an address space, meaning it's someplace in memory where we can store things. It's a named address space. So here is our variable, and the variable has an address and it has a value. Well, variable is the name of our variable. We have different types of variables. You can think of it as a little box. You can think of it as a pigeonhole, which you may not know what that means. A mailbox, some place that you're storing something. We're going to work with 3 basic data types. There's different types of information that a computer works with. An integer is a whole number. A float is a decimal, like $2.23, $2.23. We've been working with right now strings. Strings are characters, just a bunch of words. All right, so far so good? Well, for some reason, there it is. We're going to combine the name of the city and the pet together and then display it. So band name. So what we're doing over on the right-hand side is combining pet and city to create our band name. So plus in this case isn't adding them, it's combining them. And then we display band name. There we go. Well, that should work. I'll end up with a weird band name. So we'll say I grew up in Welcome. My first pet that I remember as a kid was called Goldie. It was a golden, it was a, what was it? I can't remember. Goldie Welcome is the name of my band. Or maybe Welcome Goldie. Oh, I like Welcome Goldie better. So that gives you the name of your new band. So let me know how you do. If you're, on Spotify or something, that's definitely going to be a winner. Once you've run, don't forget, once you run the program, and Goldie, don't forget to do your screenshot and paste it into your little Word document so you have documentation that yes, your program did indeed work.